This is devotional number 158, and today's date is October 26th, 2016. We're looking at the privilege of Bible study this week, and as I mentioned in an earlier study, we want to look at some of the tools that God has given to us, to those of us who particularly don't know Hebrew or Greek. And one of those tools is Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. And what it does is it takes all of the English words in the King James Bible and assigns a number to them. And then you can look up that number, or you can look up the verse in the main body of the Strong's, and it will tell you what that number is. And that's helpful because of the fact that then you can know which strong numbers, and many words have more than one Strong's number. So this is a good tool, especially for a beginner to become acquainted with the Bible. The Strong's Concordance is relatively inexpensive, and it's available at most Christian bookstores and online as well. Plus, there are a number of Bible software programs that include this, and there's even online programs that, like the blueletterbible.org, that is free, and you can utilize that if you have access to a computer. Let me try to give an example of the Strong's, and this might help. Let's take, for example, the English word sores. Now, if we look this up in the main part of the concordance under S, we're going to find sores used there, and it's found in 4 references where it's translated in English as sores. There are actually 3 in the New Testament and 1 time that it appears in the Old Testament. We'll look at the Old Testament one first. It's in Isaiah 1:6, and we read there, "From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but words and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment." And there will be a partial verse of Isaiah 1:6, and then at the end of that partial verse, we'll find the number 4347, which is the Hebrew, since Isaiah is in the Old Testament. This is the Hebrew number in the Strong's. Now, if we go to the New Testament, we find it in Luke 16:20, and also verse 21. Luke 16:20 says, "And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate," that is the gate of the rich man, "full of sores." Here, sores is Strong's number in the Greek, 1669. Now, incidentally, some of the Bible software programs will put a 0 in front of the Hebrew Strong's numbers to differentiate that from the Greek. But this word is 1669, and in the very next verse, we find a related word, which is 1668, also translated as sores. "And desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table, moreover the dogs came and licked his sores." One other verse we can go to. This one is the last one in the New Testament. It's Revelation 16:11. And there we find this declaration, "And blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds." Once again, we find this is Strong's number 1668. Now, so far we've been in the middle, or the main body of the Strong's Concordance. If you go to the back of the Strong's, you'll see that it's divided into two sections, a Hebrew section for the Old Testament and a Greek section for the New Testament. And when we go to the Old Testament section and we look up the number 4347, we will find there where it says 4347 Makah, which is from another root word, which is 5221. And then we'll find underneath it that there are actually 10 English words in the King James or Authorized Version where this word appears, 4347. For example, it's translated wound 14 times, slaughter 14 times, plague 11 times, beaten once, stripes twice, stroke twice, blow once, smote once, and then our word for sores once, wounded once, for a total of 48 times in the Old Testament. Now, one thing that I want to point out here is that you can see that this word sores, which is only used once, is actually only, it gives us a very small idea of what this word really encompasses because of everything that I just read, the way it's translated. All of these shades of meaning are encapsulated in this Hebrew word. And Hebrew is a very pictorial language. It's a very expressive language. It has many shades of meaning. Sometimes words can have 50 different nuances. Greek, on the other hand, is a very precise language. And it's interesting that God chose these two languages to make up the bulk of our King James Bible. Now, I want to just offer a word of caution, because in the back of Strong's Concordance, we also find definitions that Dr. Strong gives, and these have to be taken with a grain of salt, because a lot of times they're based on non-biblical usage. For example, how the word might appear in classical Greek, or how it might be similar to a word in German or to some other word. In order to find the spiritual meaning of the word, we know that we have to compare Scripture with Scripture, spiritual with spiritual, as we read in 1 Corinthians 2:13. And that is the only way that we can come to the point of understanding what God means spiritually. And of course, it has to harmonize with everything else in the Bible. And so this entails a tremendous amount of work. And so we are admonished, by 2 Timothy 2:15, it says, "Be diligent, study to show thyself approved, workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth."